Hello, and thank you for being one of the 7 people to download this podcast.
And remember, guys, you can download this podcast on Podbean and iTunes, check us out on YouTube, and follow us at Layman Experts on Twitter.
Hello, and welcome to the Layman Experts. You're joined by me, Pam Tegizada, and Alistair Yeoman.
Afternoon, how you doing?
I'm pretty well, thank you, Alistair.
Yeah?
How about yourself?
Yeah, really good. Had a few, quite a number of Guinnesses last night, so eventually I am functioning. But yeah, last night was the Champions League final. Thoughts?
Disappointed?
Yeah. At what point in the match did you become disappointed?
When Benzema scored his first jammy goal.
So it wasn't when Salah went off the pitch though?
No, because I thought, even though I was disappointed, obviously, they still had some fight in them, especially when Mane did step up to the plate a little bit. He looked quite feisty.
Yeah.
And defensively, they still look strong. It's just when Benzema scored that goal, it's just not what you need to do against Real Madrid.
You can't afford to give those kind of cheap goals away. It goes without saying. But all my belief sort of just sieved away the moment then Salah left the pitch. To be honest.
How about when Mane got the equaliser?
Yeah, I was like, okay, wow, maybe this could be one of those games, but the strength and depth that Madrid have got. We know when they were bringing on subs and it was Bale.
Asensio.
They're
not bad, is it?
It's, compared to what? Lallana. And I never thought for a single second that Lallana was gonna, thread a ball-winning pass, or So I think that for me, yeah.
And the two best options are Emre Can or Lallana. Two players haven't played for like 2-3 months.
Can's a really good player, but he's just not signed a contract, so he's not been playing enough, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, did the result go the way you expected at all?
I actually said before the game, I think the thing I would most likely bet on is Sergio Ramos injuring Mo Salah with like a stamp or something, and that ended up bizarrely coming true. And I thought Madrid would win. Once Salah went off, I said to my friends, I was like, this is going to be 2 or 3-0. That's what I thought it would be. I didn't think Liverpool would actually score. So that surprised me massively, and Mane stepped up hugely to become almost like the new Salah for that game. He was brilliant. But yeah,
it's interesting actually, because sometimes when the star player goes off, like Ronaldo with Real Madrid, Bale steps up often.
Yeah.
Mane stepped up to the plate so much.
He did, fair play to him. He carried the team in attack.
He did.
And carry us, mate.
When you mentioned that Sergio Ramos, you'd put a bet on him injuring Salah. I think you probably wouldn't even get that good odds for it, because it's so likely to happen.
2-1.
2-1.
No, mate, he was. But you could tell even prior to that, where that was basically like a wrestling move where that could have been an arm breaker. But even prior to that, he was going in the back. The moment that Salah got the ball, he was leaving his foot, and he was a man on a mission. As a Sergio Ramos in the final is, and that's why he's a winner. Winner
that we don't like.
He's a winner that the Madrid fans will love him, because that is the moment that Salah went off, that's just giving him a huge advantage. But the footballing world, I think, wanted to see Salah on the pitch, and no one wanted to see in tears walking off.
And unfortunately, he might not make the World Cup with a dislocated shoulder. Fingers crossed for him.
It's a really sad end to the season, and I think Karius as well. That's the other sad, I guess, part of the final. And I think, to be honest, me and you both said we'd be surprised if we see him playing for Liverpool next season.
I'd be surprised, especially with keepers that come available. Jack Butland is probably better than him.
Yeah.
Alisson is definitely better than him.
I don't think that he's got a future at Liverpool anymore after that. I think it'd be hard for the fans to take him seriously now.
Yeah. Well,
we'll see.
Hopefully he recovers. He's a young goalkeeper. Yeah. We don't want anyone to fall apart like Paul Robertson did. Remember when he did that thing with Gary Neville, the young goal?
But at least Klopp and Henderson both came out and backed him after the
What do you think of that? I was going to ask you, when the interview asks, so your keeper made these mistakes, do you think that's a fair question? I think it's quite...
I mean, it's an elephant in the room if you don't ask it.
Yeah.
So you have to ask it, really. And you have to be prepared with an answer, because that was the story of the game. So I think that both Klopp and Henderson both said what they had to say in terms of, we're a team, all this stuff. But what really they both think, I don't think we know.
Do you think they'll I'm not sure the dynamics are in the dressing room. Do you think they'll say anything to him in the dressing room after the match?
I don't think there's anything to say.
No.
There's nothing to say, is there?
He knows what he's done, doesn't he?
He knows what he's done. There's just basic goalkeeping errors. Yeah, it was just those things that barely ever happened, but it happened in the Champions League final. And regardless of whether he did keep or not, I just can't see him. I think that's genuinely something that a lot of people will remember for a long time. Whenever they see Karius, he was a guy who, in that final,
cost Liverpool.
Cost them 2 goals. It would have been 1-1, and the other goal that Madrid scored was an absolute screamer. So
our boy Gareth Bale, you went to the same school as him actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, claim to fame.
Claim to fame. If anyone wants to listen to us, that's the reason why. Because you went to school with him. That's the reason why people should listen to our opinions.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the man on the inside. I know exactly how these players think, how they work, how they develop.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing that happened since our last podcast. A few more highlights. Iniesta didn't go to China.
Yeah.
Went to Japan.
We should have posted the first podcast when we recorded it a month ago rather than wait for them to. Yeah. Everything's becoming untrue that we said basically.
We're debating whether Morata or Diego Costa should start up front. I guess it's going to be Diego Costa because Morata is not in the squad.
Morata's now been left out of the squad, so. But yeah, at least we zoned in on those areas. Yeah. At least we zoned in on them.
And another big thing happened. Unai Emery is the manager of Arsenal.
Yes, excited.
I
think that's not the case with all Arsenal fans. But I think there's a large segment of them who wanted Arteta, which I don't understand, but they wanted Arteta over Emery. I certainly think Emery is a much more guaranteed choice.
I think they came around to the idea of Arteta. They were already convinced by him.
Yeah.
And so once you're already convinced by something, you don't like to then have it taken away from you.
Yeah.
I think that's the only big stories really.
Yeah. So far, obviously now Salah maybe missing
the
World Cup, and Kane becoming captain.
That's true.
Yeah.
Quickly, are you happy with Kane being captain?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, after the speech he said, the press conference he had once he'd become captain, showed he was, he said, age isn't an excuse. I'm really excited to be captain. He took it on himself in the right way, and I think that a player of his ability, if he steps up and really, really shows a level of hunger and leads by example, it could be a great move. But obviously, there's more pressure on him now as well.
Even though I personally would have gone for Henderson, I don't doubt that Harry Kane has the qualities of being a good captain.
I think for certain he's got the qualities of being a good captain, and if you inspire someone at the age of 24,
yeah,
and then the other players around him are similar age, they're all going to step up. Hopefully, they're going to see actually it's not that I'm 24 and I've got an excuse not to perform now. Let's try and do it this time. So I think it's a good move. I think the way that he's taken it, he shows he's worthy of being the captain at his press conference. So yeah, I'm excited to see him hopefully step up and score a heck of a lot of goals for England, and who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
But Alistair, can you introduce please the question we're trying to answer today?
Okay, so today the question is going to be, how is modern media affecting football? And we're going to break it down into sort of 2 parts and a summary. So the first part is how we watch football. So we're going to talk about broadcasting channels and how this is going to affect the game. The second is going to be how social media has affected or influenced football, and that's going to be talking about from a club point of view, from a fan point of view, from a player point of view. And then at the end we're basically just going to summarise whether or how we think this is affecting our enjoyment or relationship with football as a fan, and maybe highlight any sort of changes we see that could occur in the future as a result of how all this stuff is shaping the landscape of football in terms of entertainment. So yeah, hi. Do you want to take off for the first one?
You're always very generous. You always let me kick off.
Yeah.
I feel like
it just means I can bide my time then.
You bide your time.
Yeah.
So okay, do you know what? I'll go first. As always.
Yeah.
The way that football is changing, the way we watch it, has grown so much. So I mentioned in the first podcast actually how the Latin American countries, they get to enjoy our game because there's international TV channels now such as Al Jazeera becoming big, BN Sports, BBC Always, Sky, Fox, whoever. it makes the footballing world so much smaller. We can now appreciate players in foreign countries more, and that now we know so much more about players that are playing in, let's say, German leagues. We know about players that are playing in China now. That gives us a more overall view of the world, and it doesn't make us think, oh, well, they're not playing in England, therefore they can't be good. Well, we do that, but I think it's happening less and less so because of the international reach our media has nowadays.
Yeah, I think of course. I think as well, football is an absolutely massive market, and it depends on how you can reach those people. And in this modern sort of era, the biggest reach undoubtedly are sort of these platforms like the Facebooks, the Netflix, the Amazons, and those guys are able to reach people through a free service a lot of the time. And I think that, okay, so TV rights at the moment, Premier League. In 2015, Sky and BT agreed to buy a TV deal of £5.136 billion, and that was for sort of 3 seasons. It expires after the end of the 2018-19 season, and that was a 70% increase on the previous deal, which is around £3 billion. So it increased 70%. In 3 years' time, God knows what the increase will be, but it's going to be massive, right? And it then begs the question of, will one of these other platforms, the likes of Facebook, the Amazons, are they going to bid for this? They probably will, because at the end of the day, they can reach the most people, right? And it's all about reach these days. How many people can you get involved? And actually, so John, what's his name? John. Ooh, I should know this.
Mr. John.
Hang on, I'm gonna get it up. So basically, this guy, he was one of the founders of the Premier League. So he was involved with like random people like Rupert Murdoch, Alan Sugar, somebody else. This guy was basically, he was a former record label owner.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a strange...
Music record label.
Yeah, music record label. So his name's John Smith, spelled...
Yeah. You gotta guess that name.
Google it and find it. Yeah, but he's got an Oxford Union. The Oxford Union do these sort of like hour-long interviews where they bring people in, and they have such high-profile people. He's in it, so you can actually listen to his story. It's really interesting. It's an hour long. Just YouTube Oxford Union John Smith. And yeah, anyway... He set up the Premier League, and he was getting interviewed by Arsenal Fan TV, social media sort of YouTube site. I think it's like 9 months ago, and he was saying like, what Robbie, the guy from Arsenal Fan TV, was saying, where do you see the TV rights things going? And he says he thinks that at the end of 2019, he thinks Facebook or Amazon they put a big bid in, and the idea would be from Facebook's point of view to offer football online for free to stream. So if you have a Facebook account, you can go and watch the game. Like we saw yesterday, Champions League, YouTube, watch it for free. What Facebook get from that? They get ridiculous numbers of people on their website in certain times of the day, and they're able to then create all that statistics and charge even more for the ad revs and the sponsored ads that they offer to companies. So essentially, they get money from you just being there, not charging you directly for the football. And if you think about reach, they have got a much bigger reach, and therefore they're able to implement almost like a different model in terms of how they get their money from football broadcasting.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen recently with the whole Cambridge Analytica fiasco or whatever, companies are making money a whole new way now from what they did 20 years ago. Our data is financial gains for them. And it is quite cool because I was reading about it. Obviously with Neymar breaking that transfer record, 222 million, the numbers you see in football now are growing all the time. And people often say that the bubble has to burst in football. And since the last podcast, Alistair, you introduced some academia. Yeah. I felt a little bit inferior to you.
Ooh.
So
there was no intention of that.
Well, you did it. So I felt like doing a bit of reading myself.
Yeah.
And
nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
Even though you got a master's degree, I got to try and compete somehow.
Yeah.
So Dr. Plumley is a lecturer in football finance in Sheffield Hallam University, and he was saying that the footballing bubble won't burst the way people think it will because there's always going to be this new competition for the TV rights.
So when you say bubble bursting, what exactly do you mean by that? You mean
The financial bubble bursting.
as in just so I'm clear, what do you mean by financial bubble bursting?
Basically, obviously, right now so much money is in football. At some point, maybe the fans will stop going. Maybe the media channels like Sky, BT will stop watching.
There's a cap on the amount of money, the how big the industry can be. Sort of.
Exactly, I like the housing prices, stuff like that. The bubble will burst.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he was saying the bubble won't burst because there's always going to be new bidders for these TV rights. And at the moment, a good example is the Premier League. 50% of the Premier League club's revenue is TV rights.
Yeah.
That's going to increase.
Yeah.
And especially with this more competition from, again, originally it was BN Sports and Al Jazeera, but as you were saying, it's like now these tech companies that are just changing the landscape completely. So it's good for football, really. It's helping football grow to this whole new level, these tech companies. And in 20 years' future, there's going to be another form of media maybe that's going to compete with the Netflixes and the YouTubes.
Yeah. I think, okay, so at the moment, I'm going to ask you a question. At the moment, how a lot of the people that you know, what are the main sources they use to watch football on when they want to watch a match? Can you try and name all the sources that you can think they watch?
Sky Go.
Sky Go. So
Sky, BT.
BT.
Then dodgy streams.
Okay. So exactly. TV channels and dodgy streams.
Yes, sir.
And why do you think people use dodgy streams?
There's a few.
We've been in houses where people are using dodgy streams.
Yeah, university, that's all we did.
Yeah.
Why, no, I mean, don't arrest me. It's illegal? Can we get arrested?
I don't know. I don't even know.
No one's going to listen to this anyway.
But okay, so why do you use dodgy streams? Or why do people use
Two reasons.
Yeah.
Main reason is because we can't afford a subscription.
Oh, you still want to pay maybe?
Don't want to pay. Second reason, it's just not on our TV, like 3 o'clock kickoffs, etc. like that.
Exactly. So if you think about that, first of all, the 3 o'clock thing that you mentioned, the Premier League, they intentionally don't allow Sky Sports, BT, basically English broadcasters to be able to broadcast 3 PM games. Their thought process is that will mean that people will turn up to the stadiums at 3 o'clock. That's not realistic because there's loads of Arsenal fans all over the country who have commitments and they can't go to an Arsenal game. For example, if you're a student in Cardiff University and you love Arsenal, it's not viable that you're going to be going up every Saturday when you've got coursework. It's just not going to work. At the same time, ticket prices, there's been a clear trend in how much they've been going up. Just to put things in the most recent perspective, Wolves got promoted, their season ticket prices have gone up by 30%. You know, so there's a number of reasons why people don't go to the game at 3 o'clock, and that means that you basically don't have a legal option to watch that game online. So therefore people will stream them through, like, you know, they have like Dubai channels will show the 3 o'clock game bizarrely, even though the English broadcasters won't. So that's one reason. Another reason, like you said, is just the cost, and people don't want to pay, what is it, 50 quid a month, whatever it is, for a BT Sports package, when realistically they don't watch every single game available. They want to watch 2 games a month or something. But those problems would be completely eradicated. The whole idea that a lot of the market share is taken by these, these pirates or websites, they would be completely alleviated if you were to offer it free online as a really good stream. I.e., how many people do you think watched it on an illegal stream yesterday when YouTube was showing a Champions League final? Nobody, because you got a better stream for free. So that market share as well, which is going to be, you know, more. I don't even know how many million it would be. I'm sure it would be tens of million, the amount of ad rev they get from those websites. You see all the pop-ups around the ad, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, not around the ad, around the stream. So if someone like Facebook were to go into the market, they could get all that market share as well.
I think it's really cool what you're saying, because it now empowers the viewer, the audience. So previously you'd pay for a Sky Sports package, a BT package, but in that package you get like Formula 1, golf, cricket. I mean, I'm not into cricket, I'm not into golf, I just want to watch football.
Yeah.
And now with this Facebook coming in, we can just choose what we want and not spend so much money on this bulk package, because it was so monopolised by Sky for such a long time.
Yeah.
Now BT have come in, they've added a bit of competition, thankfully, but even so, you pay for a BT subscription, part of that is the Ashes, which I don't watch.
Yeah.
I don't know, just MMA fighting on BT Sports I don't watch.
Yeah.
And I think it's only good, to be honest, for the audience. I think it's doing. I'm really excited by what's going to happen in the future.
Well, it depends. Absolutely, it depends what channel has it and how they implement it. Because obviously, US Open this year, I think for British viewers, the US Open this year, the tennis, will only be available for Amazon Prime subscribers. That if Amazon Prime were to move into, and already you're seeing Amazon getting contracts with Man City Football Club, US Open. They're making a real effort. If they move into the market and try to charge people to sign up to Amazon Prime and get all this free stuff, that could be a slightly different model. So it would be interesting to see who does it, but it certainly makes sense. I think that these players, the Amazon Prime, the Facebooks of the world have so much more money and so much more market reach than a Sky or a BT. I think come 2019, that might be where it goes in terms of broadcasting football.
Yeah, I was actually going to say very quickly about because there's going to be competition within these tech companies as well.
Mm.
So Kieran Maguire, who works at the University of Liverpool, also in football finance.
Nice.
Mate, it's
Reading.
academia.
Yeah.
I'm getting on it.
Yeah.
He was explaining that Netflix probably will struggle the most because the way their revenue stream works, they can't really afford to pay all this money for the football. Because how much more are they going to charge for the streaming subscription?
Yeah.
At least Amazon's they're backed by Amazon.com.
Yeah.
They got a lot of money coming in that way. Probably for me, in my opinion, I wonder if you agree or not. Google/YouTube, because obviously Google owns YouTube.
Yeah.
They look like they have the best setup to attack this football TV market at the moment.
I completely agree with you because, like you say, the YouTube format is about viewing video. I think actually Facebook tried to launch or have launched something called Facebook Watch. If you can actually go onto the Facebook Watch page, but it's on low hundreds of thousands in terms of how people like the page, and I think they, I read an article like a year ago. They were trying to get like some MLS games on there, but for some reason now when I click on it, I don't know whether this is because I've got a UK IP and maybe it's only a US thing at the moment, but it seems like the page is like out of action or something. So
I've never heard of Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook Watch is what they were trying to do a streaming service through that, but maybe they've realised that they can't compete with Google/YouTube on this. So yeah, I think you're right. Maybe YouTube is the way this is going to go.
Exciting. I think maybe we should move on to the second part.
Yeah. So the second part of this is how social media has influenced football.
No, I'll let you go first, Alistair, because
Oh, okay
I
then.
feel like I'm being a gentleman now.
That is
Usually
very
too
kind
sweet.
of you. And actually, I think I've got something good to kill us off here.
For once.
Yeah. Aww. I thought you were being nice. But yeah. So these are some stats. This is basically going to start us off from we said we're going to look at players, how they've been affected, how clubs have been affected, how fans. This is going to start off with the clubs themselves. Okay, so these statistics were reported in 2017 by a German digital marketing expert sort of consultancy group called Result Sports, and they ranked the sort of combined number of followers across all digital platforms for like the top teams, and they ranked them, and I think they had like 40 teams in this, and it was all the football teams in the world they considered. Ranking, so the top 5, I think. Yeah, top 5. Barcelona were first. They have 206 million followers across. This is the platforms they're considering: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Google Plus, and something called Periscope, which I've never heard of before. But yeah, Barca 206 million followers. Madrid 204 million. Man United 111 million. Chelsea 76 million. Arsenal are 5th. 63 million. So Arsenal ranked above Bayern, Juve, PSG, Man City, AC Milan. And if you go onto Arsenal's, channel, YouTube channel for example, you see constant videos of players getting asked silly questions, just entertaining stuff basically. And I think when you think about the amount of money and the amount of reach that they can get from these channels, that provides them with a really good pitch to potential sponsors. Puma for Arsenal, whoever you get a contract with us and you get all this exposure. You can charge a heck of a lot for that. And I think that when social media becomes that important for a club, I think social media as a concept is pretty short-term impulsive. It's about always having a good message there and then. And I think actually in some ways, I think a lot of realistic Arsenal fans probably last January would have said what we need, centre-back, defensive midfielder. What we got was Aubameyang. I love Aubameyang. I'm so glad we got him because he's a hard player to get. But that's not actually what we needed at that point in time. But it was a big name. It was a name to counteract the loss of Sanchez. Sanchez, again, Man United, when he came, they had the Glory, Glory Man United piano video of Sanchez. That was pretty try-hard. That, again, was social media marketing and how important it's become. And I think that one of the points I want to make is that if social media is becoming that important for these clubs, and it clearly is, I think that can sometimes explain some of the decisions made on social media and also some of the decisions within the club in terms of trying to keep the right vibe. And obviously, Arsenal Fan TV's got nothing to do with these stats because it's not an Arsenal
official website.
Yeah, it's not run by the club. It's by fans. But if there's negative consensus around Wenger and it's affecting Arsenal social media presence, that can also. I'm sure these things are considered when decisions are made these days. What do you think about that, Brian?
That's a lot of information. Trying to take it all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was going to ask you a question though. So, as an Arsenal fan, I get quite annoyed actually. I see these Arsenal players on Arsenal YouTube channel doing these silly questions. Like, mate, you're underperforming. Just get on with the pitch.
Yeah, but I think it's a commitment from the club that they need to do them. I don't think they're waving their hand every train session. Oh, when we go do a video. I think they're told to do it.
Yeah, it's bloody hell. I think that it's interesting how the world has changed so much. These players, I'm going to focus on Arsenal a little bit, who have underperformed the last 2 years. They go on the YouTube channel, they're laughing, they're joking around, trying to get closer to the fans. But every fan I know, maybe because we are mid to late 20s, we're getting slightly older, or maybe not the market anymore. But I do get a little frustrated when I see them joking around. Just do well on the pitch, then you can do this stuff, and we'll find it funny.
Yeah, but I think that there's a segment of fans who love it, and they got loads of views. And I think that's a different part of the club, to be honest. I don't think that's the manager going, "Oh, make sure you do all these videos." I think a certain part of the Arsenal's club is business.
Yeah, maybe not. But it's quite.
But, even Man City, Guardiola, he's a machine in terms of his mentality, and he installs it in the players. But they've also signed a contract with Amazon Prime to have you heard about this? Behind the scenes footage next season where they have stuff from their training sessions, all this stuff really into the club, and they've agreed to that. So I think it is where the world's going. But I completely understand from a fan why you might get the wrong impression, and I think that brings us to sort of the next little micro section in this topic. From a fan, how is social media affecting football from your perspective?
So obviously the elephant in the room always when it comes to fan channels is Arsenal Fan TV. Probably the most successful one. I mean, I say for sure, I can imagine the most successful one. Copper 90 I know is big as well. It gives a different perspective. So you personally, after a match, do you rather listen to Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher or DT and Troops?
DT and Troops.
DT. Why is that?
Because I think that they live and breathe the club a lot more, and their opinions encompass everything that goes on at the club.
Okay, so do you think that it's going to replace at some point the Sky Sports coverage, post-match analysis?
I don't know. I think it's healthy competition because it means that you can't have pundit. Rewind 10 years ago where you just get the most random people coming on Match of the Day, giving alright views, saying a lot of footballers. A lot of football's opinions are quite similar. Footballers' opinions and pundits' opinions are quite similar because a lot of football is quite simple. Yeah. You watch it, you see what happens, you go, that was bad, that was good. I think that the best pundits at the moment, the likes of Gary Neville, the Thierry Henrys, the Gerrards, the Lampards, they're the best pundits I see at the moment because they've got so much know-how in terms of being these big games, and they break it down really simply. They can bring tactics into it. They can bring specific stuff into regarding like position in the pitch that most fans are completely inept with. But then I think below that, I think someone like Troops and DT are much better in terms of understanding the whole picture at a club. And I think that's what they bring to the table, and I'd rather listen to them for what exactly is the situation with Arsenal. Should Wenger go? Should he stay? As opposed to someone who like Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, who don't live and breathe the club every day when they wake up.
Yeah, that's why I think they both can come hand in hand, and I think they'll balance quite well with each other as well. So I go to Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville because I love the defensive analysis they do.
Yeah.
Why this player's out of position, why this right back needs to tuck in, and all these things. But then you have the Arsenal fan TV, West Ham fan TV, etc. They're more enjoyable because you can relate to the people that are speaking more. So when I listen to DT speak, I'm not quite as passionate as him. I don't support Arsenal quite as much as he does probably. But it's definitely more relatable when he vents his anger and he really says what I actually think.
Yeah.
Like Wenger has to go, he's ruined the club, all these things. Whereas obviously Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, I'm using them as examples because they're such good pundits.
Yeah.
They are obliged to be a lot more PC than that.
Yeah, exactly.
And they can't share express their opinions.
Yeah.
And whilst everyone likes to learn whilst watching media, you also like to relate to what you see as well, or what you listen to.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they both can work very well parallel together. And it's quite exciting how much it's grown and new ways we enjoy and experience football.
When you say parallel together, do you mean on the assumption that DT Troops stay at Arsenal Fan TV on YouTube, Gary Neville, Carragher stay with Sky in the studio? Is that what you mean when you say parallel together, or do you mean you'd like to see Troops and DT in the studio with Gary Neville?
No, I think that would ruin the whole vibe. I think stay on YouTube outside the stadium, post-match feedback or views.
Straight. Okay, so the reason I asked that though is because Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV, Robbie Lyle, has started.
I know what his last name was actually. Okay, Lyle?
I think it's Lyle.
Okay, I didn't know.
L-Y-L-E.
Okay, you're a fanboy, aren't you? What's his wife's name?
I've read a few articles in newspapers where they call people their full name. Different worlds. They've started a new show now on Channel 4 called, what was it called? The Real Football
Fan Channel?
Real Football
Fan Show.
Real Football Fan Show. And basically what they do, there's multiple channels. There's Arsenal Fan TV, there's West Ham, there's Man United TV. You've got all these TV channels, YouTube fan channels, and they'll pick out like the biggest rants of the year, bring these people into the studio, show a clip of their rant, and then Robbie will go, Dave, you were really, really annoyed then, frustrated. I could feel your pain, like what was going through your head, and it's sort of like it completely drags out the rant from the context of the game. And it almost just makes it just like a point and laugh. And I know a lot of people will watch Arsenal Fan TV and point and laugh, and they just like it. They're not an Arsenal fan. I watch it because I love the grit and the honest opinions that come out of it, and that's the reason why it's been so successful, in my opinion. And I think when that is basically Robbie has got a good offer from Channel 4. He's on like anyone would do, right? This is a good opportunity for me. Let's have a go. See what happens of it. But I think there's like the genuine aspect of the content he's created is completely lost. I'm not saying his character I've lost any respect for what he does. I think he's a very genuine guy, and fair play to him. But I think when you take those interviews out of the context of the match, people can't see what's just happened in the match, and you just see some angry fan ranting. I think that it becomes almost like a bit of a point and laugh circus.
What I'm getting out of this, what you're saying, because I've never seen the show, I've never seen an episode, but I assumed there'll be more original content they'll be doing.
No, they're just looking back on the rants of the season. Like, I only watched it for like 20 minutes. Like one episode, I was like, I can't watch this anymore. That's
quite boring, because the thing that I was excited about going onto these fan channels after a match is new content. It's a new episode. I don't want to see the same rants from. Even though they all sound quite similar, probably. But
I'm not watching it because it's a rant. I'm watching it because it's their opinions, and it's honest opinions. But I think
I'll rant it usually.
Yeah. But then I think that the people who don't really get it, who clearly work at Channel 4, have just gone, people will like this. This is like shot content. This is like, the whole tabloid media thing, like, and the whole celebrity, everything has to be like a big picture, big shot. There has to be controversy. They're taking those elements and just trying to blow those up and make those a focus point. When I think that they're missing the point.
Yeah.
And the point I'm making here is, if these fan channels are making so much money, or not even making so much money, but creating so much of a buzz and building the following, at what point do they become, like an institutionalized thing? And at what point does the genuine grit and a genuine sort of down-to-earth video on a cheap camera, normal guys who are just fans, at what point does that boil over and it becomes just the same as everything else, a money maker?
Ooh, that's quite deep, man.
Well,
I wish I could answer the question. Unfortunately, I'm not smart enough. I haven't got a master's degree, so I feel like you can maybe answer your own question.
I think that it's human nature to always want more for yourself. I think at some point I can see these channels, some of them maybe selling out a little bit, and I hope that doesn't happen. But I could just that example of sort of the big dogs, the Channel 4s getting involved and trying to ride the wave. I think that's the worst thing that can happen to these channels. I think if these channels can just stay with the same people, uncut, interviewing all fans, not interviewing the most popular ones all the time, in keeping like a nice broad range of fans, I think that's the best way to go. But I just only time will tell.
Only time will tell. I want to kind of speak about one more thing with social media.
We should talk about the players, I think.
The players as well.
Yeah, go on.
So, I did a bit more reading.
Yeah.
It was actually from a report with Robin Clark, who's the global head of Publicis Media, Sport and Entertainment.
Right.
And them, along with Blink for Analytics, yeah, that's right. They did a kind of report on football social media performance, and it was to look at why footballers are becoming more expensive at such a rapid rate. So Gareth Bale was worth 85 million, Pogba 89 million, small jump.
Yeah.
Now Neymar 222 million.
Yeah.
But financially, it's not actually that inviable for PSG to do this, and why salaries are increasing so much as well and so quickly. Now you're getting players being paid, £500,000 a week.
Yeah.
At what point did this become financially suitable for clubs to do? And they were looking at this in more detail. And players, they can increase their own value, not just the way they perform on the pitch, but the social media presence as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting the way they look.
Pogba's probably someone that springs to mind, same with Neymar actually.
Yeah, Neymar is the great example for it because he's the third on the ranking, it's behind Ronaldo and Messi. And the way they do the ranking is not just how many followers you have, it's the engagement you do, the amount of content you put on, how well you know how to advertise a brand, be it PSG, be it Nike, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So there's a whole new dynamic to footballers and how they try to market themselves. You don't have to be the best player to be worth the most money.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that, really?
Well, I think, so yesterday in the Champions League, Bale scored an unbelievable goal. He's been on the bench, and he said he was quite blatant after the match. Quite liked it actually. He was, if I'm not getting enough game time, that's what I need the most. He was very, very, very bold about it, and he picked the right time to say it. He has spent his whole time at Real in Ronaldo's shadows, whether he's played better in one match or not. Ronaldo is the main man there, and you talk about brands. Ronaldo's brand is being the main man, being the focus point, being Ronaldo. Having a celebration, everyone loving him, having a go at players but they don't pass to him. That's his brand. If that's making Madrid a lot of money, at what point does it become about the brand over the football? I think so maybe that has something to do with it as well. The amount of the revenue that his brand brings in, and the fact that they need to keep his brand more so than for example Ronaldo going for a bad patch and getting dropped.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely.
That's interesting because you're right. Ronaldo's more valuable than Neymar on social media, and there's been talk of Real Madrid getting Neymar. And I was reading about it with Julian Laurent, who looks at a lot of PSG and how they're doing things. And he was saying that the problem is Neymar will not want to go in Ronaldo's shadow. And
that's why he left Barca, isn't it?
Yeah, leave Messi's shadow.
Yeah.
And if you're Real Madrid though, a smart option would be to get Neymar now because he's 26, Ronaldo's 33.
Yeah.
Ronaldo, you could keep him happy, what, 2 more years he has, realistically? I can't imagine him being at this level for 2 more years.
Well, he's already playing up front, isn't he? He's lost a little bit of pace now, so they put him up front rather than the wing.
And yesterday evening, the final, he was quite ineffective actually. If he doesn't score, he is quite ineffective.
Yeah.
But the fact that Ronaldo brings so much in terms of what's it called, publicity to Real Madrid, increases their revenue so much on social media, he's invaluable in more senses than just football sense.
Yeah, I can completely see that.
Okay.
I think, but okay, just in the voices of players, do you think from social media, from a player perspective, how do you think it's affected? Is it been positive or negative for them?
It depends who it is. So Cleverson, the old United centre midfielder,
Yeah.
he had a petition against him for one of Roy Hodgson's squads at England. 10,000 people signed this online petition to get him kicked out and not allowed ever to go into the England squad. So for him,
Hang on, what do you mean for the England squad?
because he was going to be in the England squad with Roy Hodgson, when Roy Hodgson was manager.
We did change nationalities? Hang on, so what do you mean?
Cleverson.
Oh,
Cleverly, sorry.
Cleverly,
yeah.
Cleverson, a Brazilian.
No.
Cleverly.
Sorry,
Oh yeah,
Cleverly.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about more is about social media from a player's point of view, like how they use social media. Is that positive? Like so for example, you get players getting in trouble for what they put on social media. I think was it Aubameyang was videoed when he was doing for a bit of a rough time at Dortmund before he signed for Arsenal. New Year's Eve, he posted I think a video of him having a cigarette, and a few drinks or something, which caused unrest. At the same time, prior to his, I think a week prior to his move to Arsenal, he was on Sancho's, the young English guys at Brest,
Yeah.
He sort of implied on Sancho's social media channel that he would be moving to Arsenal. So he built up a bit of excitement there. At the same time, you get people like Jay Rodriguez, who got accused of saying something racist to a Huddersfield player, and he got charged by the FA. He came out on social media and completely denied it. Said, "Listen, this is completely wrong." Got a retrial, got found innocent. So, I mean, there's good parts and bad parts to touch on it.
I think generally it is a good thing, but like any powerful new thing that's come about, you have to use it responsibly, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't use it. So I think Tyson Gray, the striker for Watford at the moment, when he was 19, he said something quite homophobic.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was thinking then. That's using it in a very negative manner.
He's 19, he probably said something stupid. I mean, that's the problem. That's also a problem with social media. The scrutiny you get from it.
Because people at 19 say so much stupid. I've said a lot of stupid stuff in my life.
Yeah, you say stuff you don't mean at 19 because you're under the influence of people around you or whatever, or you just don't really understand.
But after he is our age, first of all.
Yeah.
And when we were 19, we would never post what he posted on social media.
Yeah, but I think that it's the same like when Phil Neville got the women's England job. Do you see he had to apologise for?
I just battered my wife. He meant ping pong, but he obviously did it as a pun, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was and then he had to apologise for a joke he put on social media. Not the best tasting joke, but he had to really apologise about it. So, I mean, people will hold people to account for the most stupid things, and the amount of people who would be having a go at Carragher who do probably worse sins than that. It's a bit of a witch hunt.
But I will say though, social media. Yeah, social media is in its infancy stage still. How long has it been around for? Like at a high level, what it is now?
Yeah, not long.
Like less than 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, about 10 years, I'd say.
So we are growing. We are learning as a society how to cope with social media, not to scrutinise Phil Neville for the silly joke he made a few years back and start accusing him of being sexist.
Okay.
So give it more time. I think the next generation of players will really know how to use social media in a very positive way.
Do you think it's for you as a fan? You like the players who engage with it, or do you think that it's because you mentioned earlier about the Arsenal thing? You don't like them seeing messing about. As a fan, do you like a player who engages with their fans on social media?
If they do it in the right way. So, for example, I still remember when Salomon Rondon accidentally broke James McCarthy's leg this season. First thing he did after the match went on social media, like put in a very nice heartfelt message about James McCarthy. I thought that was very sweet, and I liked that a lot. Yeah. But then I see people who post stuff like, "Yeah, we won today. What a great goal by me." I'm like, okay, cool, do what you want, but I just don't really appreciate that sort of stuff on social media myself.
Okay, so you think that it's better used to address tough situations than necessarily talk about your daily life from your perspective.
That's my perspective. How about yourself?
To be honest, I'm inclined to agree with you, but I think that's probably maybe more our personality types. I think there's certain people who really enjoy following their favourite footballer, seeing their lifestyle, being like, oh, this is really cool.
Sanchez with his dogs.
Yeah, or like some of the amazing cars and amazing pads, and people like to see that. It's not really something I particularly have much interest in, but everyone's different. There's definitely nothing wrong with that, if that's something people want to see. So, yeah, I think as long as it's used honestly by the person, I think that you can't fault them for that. And if they want to show stuff they're doing, cool. But I think that the problem is when players, I think that not the problem, but the danger is when players put stuff brashly on there. Like I think Julian Lescott, wasn't he? Didn't he post like a picture of his what was it, a car or something?
Well, okay.
Do you remember that one?
I think if they had a negative football match, he lost the big football match or something, and then
it lost a lot. I can't remember who it was, but
he got relegated when he was at Villa.
Yeah, and he's posting pictures of his new car and chilling by. I can't remember, something like that. But I think that you have to be careful. I think these days the amount of honesty a player can possibly put on there is limited by the fact that the club have a social media presence. I'm sure they tell their players what not to post, how to speak. Like they probably have due courses on it, don't they, before they even start using social media on behalf of as being an Arsenal player, as being a.
Definitely, I think again, so similar link to what I said earlier. Yeah. They'll be training on how to up their value, how to be sensible on social media, not to offend everyone. Yeah, that kind of thing. So I guess we can summarise it. Can I ask you how you feel new media has changed football, and do you think it's for the better or for the worse?
I think. So actually, again, I'm going to bring it back to that the guy called John Smith. Okay.
And what a name.
Yeah, so no, but this is I mentioned the Oxford Union interview, and the first 10 minutes you can watch this is really interesting. He talks about, this is back in the 70s, got into football after he had this record company, and then he started getting into football. And the first thing they were tasked with, he said back in the 70s, it wasn't marketable. 70s/80s, early 80s. Football wasn't marketable. In 80s there was Hillsborough. There was all these terrible things that happened. There was problems with hooliganism. It wasn't a really marketable sport. And I think we've grown up in a world where it is marketable, and we just assume by default. But it wasn't. Okay, at this point in time. And he said, so they were tasked with first of all trying to make it marketable. And what they do is they tell the England players, I think they were sponsored by, I think it was Coca-Cola. And they were told, what we want you to do is to celebrate, we need to run towards the Coca-Cola banner on the pitch so we can get you in the banner. And he said you'd see some players sort of celebrate, stop, look around to see where the banner was, and then run over. And then he said that the first problem was that they'd run over to the banner, brilliant, they're all celebrating, but unfortunately, there's limited number of cameras on the pitch back in those days, so they'd be covering the actual Coca-Cola line, so you couldn't read it. So that's when they told, and he said Paul Gaston was one of the leaders in this. He said what they need to do, we want to slide on the floor, so that would mean that you can still see the banner, and pile up on each other. So it's quite interesting, right?
That's very interesting. I can't imagine. That's so weird.
You can't imagine, right? But it sort of makes sense. But yeah, let's fast forward. The whole idea that at that point they were trying to get more people engaged from a marketing perspective, and now we've had a real culture shift. And it's become now where you can get so many people to look at so many adverts, to buy into so many players on a much more personal level, to see all the boots of players, to see all this stuff. You can literally buy into somebody's lifestyle through social media. That's a very powerful marketing concept. So I think, in terms of football, I think we're going to see it just increase. And the Amazon Prime with looking behind the scenes at Man City. That again is opening up another avenue to this.
Netflix have a Juventus documentary as well.
Yeah, so exactly. So there's all this information that we can get now through social media, even more information. So I think from a fan perspective, it just depends on how much you're into it. Like you see, we saw about Arsenal Fan TV. Ty clearly loves Arsenal, and clearly he's a sort of character who likes to know all the players, feel like he's connected with them.
Calls them by their first name.
Calls them by their first name. Supposedly waits after each game to try and speak to Wenger. He really wants to know about these people's lives. He's going to get that option increasingly more as all this stuff continues to grow. From a fan like me, I don't tend to care. When something happens, something controversial, I like to see their reactions, but I don't want to follow, I don't know, Aubameyang's life from day-to-day basis and see what haircuts he's got or whatever, what cars he's driving. My perspective, I think it could be positive because I would like a service like we had yesterday, where you can just put on a game and the whole world's able to watch it. And I think again that there's a huge amount of marketing factor behind that as to the underlines, what people can also see. But I think that from a player's perspective, maybe it's getting slightly scary in terms of exactly how much you're under the spotlight. I think as well that's something that needs to be managed, like the expectations of fans. And Arsenal Fan TV, look, it's brilliant. It's brilliant to have those honest opinions from fans, and it's brilliant as well to sort of close the gap between what a club is doing on saying on behalf of the fans and what the fans really think. But I think that there needs to be some protection for the players, because it's not natural to have millions or tens of millions or 100 millions of people knowing or almost feeling like they know you when they don't.
What danger do you think there might be as a consequence?
I just think that
some netters out there might take it.
I just think that if I was a football player and all of a sudden something happened and the spotlight was turned on me, as we've seen with players for different reasons, everyone makes mistakes, right? But if the spotlight is turned on you and all of a sudden you get all these entities who are making money off social media, trying to make money off your mistake, I think that's very, very intense.
Like the meme, like Carrots have a lot of memes now, for example, or GIFs, or whatever you want to call them, about his mistakes. You think this kind of thing might affect somebody quite negatively?
But even like if you mess up and you do something wrong, you say something bad, you say something off the cusp, heat of the moment, or you do something on the pitch you're not proud of, and you see just how social media trends take off. I think that if it becomes like such a big breach of people, and these people feel like they have access to all this information about you, and all of a sudden they don't like you, I think that it can become very intense and it can be quite a worry for players. So I think that whilst it's good that we're getting more and more access to what players think, what they do behind the scenes, I think there should be, well maybe in some in the future we might see someone drawing the line. What do you think?
Yeah, that's quite a good answer you gave. I'm going to be quite boring and say that I think what's happening with new media in football is going really well. I'm enjoying pretty much all of it. I love that Amazon Prime are trying to muscle in on it. BT were forced to with the deal in UEFA, but it is quite cool that they put it on YouTube. It's difficult for the older fans. Like, I have to teach my dad to use some stuff on the internet to get him to watch it.
Yeah.
But I think for the new generation, so 30 years time, when everyone really knows how to use the internet quite well, it's something to look forward to. When it comes to social media now, it is difficult because you make a good point that players do need some protection. I am worried that one day a Joe Cox situation might happen to a footballer. Some footballer might do something wrong, some on social media threatening them, then it builds up more and more so much hate for a single player. Yeah. Then you don't know how crazy some people can be. And with social media, the idea was to humanise these players more, but I feel like because they're more of a caricature of themselves, they're becoming dehumanised.
Yeah,
so Pogba always doing his dabs, always dancing. Yes, I'm sure he's got a lot of feelings as well. He doesn't like reading the fact that he's overpaid, wasted time, etc. And I'm not sure how much that can affect someone's mental health. So these footballers do need training on how to use social media effectively and not to take all these comments to heart as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, the point you made about Pogba, he if you have an agent who's saying, well, your market value, part of it is your social media presence, you need to keep that up. There's almost like a link you can draw between that and the Avicii incident, where clearly he's been, dragged around by agents telling me he's having the best life ever, having the best time ever, and he's deep down he's sort of crying. So you need to, I think, manage that. And I think that even the Football Association needs to keep an eye on social media in terms of how they protect players, because if you get these 16-year-olds coming through, becoming sensations at 16, 17, and they get all this stuff on top of it these days. I think that there can be problems there if it's not managed in the right way.
There can be. It's almost like it could be like an episode of Black Mirror where this footballer is idolised so much on social media. One big mistake, their life falls apart. They no longer can market the ball. They go down to depression. But yeah, it's very, very interesting actually. Do you have any more points you have to add?
No, I think on that very sombre note.
Very sombre note. Wow, got quite dark there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that for me as a football fan, I'm excited by it because I would like to see in the next sort of 5 years everyone in the world being able to watch football by having an internet connection and not having to have these packages, and I think that would be brilliant for the game.
Brilliant. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and speak to you all next time.